Have you ever noticed that the moments that change everything are not always the ones filled with noise, but the ones wrapped in silence? Think about it. The silence after someone walks away from you. The silence in a room when truth is finally revealed without a word being spoken. The silence when you're sitting with your own thoughts, realizing what you need to do next. That silence is not empty. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's power. Most people rush to fill silence because it makes them uncomfortable. They panic. They over-explain. They talk just to be heard. But the strongest people in the room don't fear silence. They use it. They sit in it. They own it. Because silence forces people to lean in. It makes others wonder what you're thinking, what you know, what you're holding back. And in that moment, you shift the power dynamic without even saying a word. Silence has the ability to reveal truth, to protect your energy, to command respect without shouting for it. But most of us never master it because we live in a world that celebrates noise. Everyone wants to be the loudest, the quickest to respond, the one who has something to say. Yet the people who truly rise above, the ones who earn respect effortlessly, are those who understand when to speak and when not to. So let me ask you, how often has silence saved you? How often has silence revealed more than words ever could? And how often have you given away your strength because you felt you had to respond? Tonight, we're going to talk about the power of silence. The kind of silence that builds authority, that protects your peace, that helps you grow into someone unshakable. Because once you master silence, you master yourself. Silence is one of the greatest shields you have in life, yet most people don't realize it. Every word you speak is like currency, and once you spend it, you can never take it back. Too often, we give away our power because we feel the urge to respond, to defend ourselves, to explain what doesn't even need explaining. But the truth is, silence preserves your strength in a way words never can. When you choose silence over reaction, you keep the upper hand because the moment you open your mouth in anger and frustration or in desperation, you've already surrendered control. Think about this. How many times have you said something in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? Maybe you lashed out. Maybe you revealed something personal. Maybe you explained yourself to someone who didn't deserve an explanation. And afterward, you replayed it in your mind, wishing you could go back, wishing you had just stayed quiet. Silence is protection. Once words leave your lips, they can be twisted, misunderstood, used against you. But silence? Silence is untouchable. Nobody can misinterpret silence. Nobody can twist it into something it's not. Silence leaves people guessing, and that guessing is where your power lies. People often mistake silence for weakness, but the opposite is true. Weakness is being unable to hold back your words. Weakness is allowing someone to provoke you and control your reactions. Strength is being able to look at someone who's trying to pull you into conflict and refusing to give them the satisfaction. Strength is keeping your composure when everything inside you wants to explode. That's power. When you stay silent, you're telling the world, you don't get to dictate how I respond. You don't get to pull me into your chaos. There's also something deeply unsettling about silence. To those who try to provoke you, they expect you to bite back, to defend yourself, to give them energy to feed on. But when you don't, when you sit in silence with calm confidence, it disarms them. It confuses them. They start questioning themselves. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you know, what's going on in your head. Silence forces them to face their own words without distraction. It shines a spotlight on their behavior while you stand untouchable. I want you to picture a courtroom for a moment. The lawyers who argue endlessly, who shout and posture, they're trying to prove something. But watch the judge. The judge doesn't need to raise their voice. The judge doesn't need to talk more than necessary. With just silence and presence, they control the entire room. Everyone waits for the judge to speak, and when they finally do, their words carry weight. That's the power of silence. It amplifies your voice when you finally choose to use it. There's a psychological element too. Human beings are uncomfortable with silence in conversation. When you pause and let the silence stretch, most people rush to fill it, and in that rush, they reveal themselves. They say too much. They confess things they didn't plan to. They expose their insecurities, their true intentions. If you can master sitting in silence, you gain the advantage. You become the observer, while others unravel themselves. You learn more by saying nothing than you ever could by trying to dominate with words. But silence doesn't just protect you from others, it also protects you from yourself. We all have moments when emotions rise like a storm. Anger, jealousy, fear, frustration. In those moments, silence is your safeguard. Instead of letting words fly that you'll later regret, you step back, breathe, and allow your emotions to settle. Silence creates space for clarity. It gives you time to think, is this worth my energy? Do I really need to say something? Will my words help, or will they make things worse? That pause, that restraint, often saves you from unnecessary conflict and regret. And understand this clearly, silence does not mean passivity. It doesn't mean letting people walk over you. It means choosing when to engage, and when engagement only costs you more than it's worth. It means being deliberate with your voice, not reckless. When you do speak after silence, your words land like thunder because people know you don't waste them. You don't talk just to talk. You talk with purpose, and that's why people listen. There's a story told about great leaders and negotiators, how they often remain quiet in high-stakes discussions. While everyone else argues, persuades, and explains, the leader listens. They nod, they observe, they let silence hang in the air. And when they finally speak, they do so with precision. That's why their words carry authority, not because they said more, but because they said less. The scarcity of their voice made it valuable. Silence protects your power because it keeps you in the position of choice. You're not reacting, you're deciding. You're not giving your energy away to anyone who demands it. You're conserving it for when it matters. You're not wasting words. You're guarding them like treasure. The world will try to provoke you. People will try to test you. And your own emotions will try to push you into saying what you'll wish you hadn't. But silence is your armor. The next time someone tries to bait you into an argument, the next time someone disrespects you, the next time you feel that urge to defend yourself endlessly, pause, sit in the silence, let it protect you. Watch how it shifts the energy. Watch how it unsettles those who thought they had power over you. And when you do speak, speak with the weight of someone who doesn't give their voice away cheaply. That's how silence protects your power. By reminding the world that your energy, your words, and your presence are not for free. Respect is not something you demand with loud words. It is not something you earn by being the most outspoken voice in the room. True respect comes when people sense your strength without you needing to announce it, and nothing communicates strength more than your ability to sit in silence. When you choose not to rush into arguments, when you don't need to prove yourself with endless words, when you can hold your ground without noise, that's when people begin to respect you. Think about the people you admire most. Were they the ones who always spoke the loudest? Or were they the ones who carried themselves with calm presence, who only spoke when they had something meaningful to say? The loudest person often gets attention, but not respect. Noise may grab the ears, but it rarely wins the heart. Silence, on the other hand, draws people in. It makes them lean closer, listen harder, and take you more seriously when you finally decide to speak. There's a certain mystery in silence that demands respect. When you don't reveal everything, when you don't rush to fill the air, you create space for curiosity. People wonder, what is this person thinking? Why aren't they speaking? What do they know that I don't? That uncertainty forces them to treat you with caution, and in that caution lies respect. When you say less, people often assume you know more. Silence also demonstrates discipline, and discipline is always respected. Anyone can speak their mind without thinking. Anyone can react in the heat of the moment. But it takes self-control to remain composed, to pause, to choose silence when emotions are screaming for you to shout. That restraint shows others that you're not easily shaken, that you are not controlled by impulse. People may not say it out loud, but they notice it. They sense that you're not someone who can be rattled easily, and respect follows. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence can change the entire dynamic. If you constantly talk, constantly explain, constantly defend yourself, people stop valuing your words, they take them for granted. But when you choose silence, when you're selective with what you say, people pay attention. They start to realize that when you do speak, it matters. Your voice becomes like a rare resource, valuable, not disposable. Respect grows, not because of how much you say, but because of how little you waste. Let's look at conflict as an example. When tempers flare and voices rise, the natural instinct is to match that energy. Someone yells, you yell back. Someone insults, you defend yourself. But when you refuse to match their noise, when you stay calm and silent, you shift the entire balance of power. Your silence communicates, I don't need to lower myself to your level. That composure commands respect even from the very people trying to provoke you. Because deep down, people recognize strength when they see it, and silence in the face of chaos is pure strength. There's also a deeper layer to why silence commands respect. Silence shows you're secure in yourself. Insecure people need to prove themselves constantly. They talk endlessly to be validated, to be noticed, to be reassured. But the person who is secure doesn't need to do that. They don't need constant approval. Their silence says, I know who I am. I don't need to explain it to you. That kind of confidence doesn't just earn respect. It demands it. Silence also creates authority in leadership. Look at powerful leaders, mentors, or figures in history. They weren't the ones constantly speaking just to be heard. They listened, they observed, they waited, and when they did speak, their words carried weight because silence had already prepared the ground. In leadership, silence communicates wisdom. It shows that you don't act recklessly, that you're thoughtful, that you choose your words and actions carefully. People respect leaders who don't waste words because those leaders don't waste time or energy either. In everyday life, silence can elevate you above the noise of the world. Today, everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to shout louder than the other. Everyone is desperate to be heard. Social media, conversations, arguments, all filled with noise. But the person who masters silence stands out. They're different. They're not caught up in the need to compete for attention. They speak less, but carry more impact. And that difference is respected, because it's rare. Another powerful way silence commands respect is by making others reflect. When you stay silent after someone speaks, they often feel compelled to continue, to fill the gap. In doing so, they reveal more, sometimes even things they didn't intend to share. Your silence forces them to think, to confront their own words. That pause you create is powerful. It shifts the dynamic. Instead of you chasing their respect with words, they start chasing your approval in the silence. But remember, silence commands respect only when it's paired with presence. Silence without presence looks like avoidance. But silence with presence, eye contact, composure, calm energy, radiates strength. When you stand tall, breathe steadily, and say nothing, your silence becomes louder than any words could be. People respect not just what you don't say, but the way you carry yourself in that silence. Respect is never about volume. It's about value. And silence creates value around your presence, your words, your energy. The less you give away, the more people value what you do give. Silence makes your voice rare. Silence makes your presence felt. Silence makes people take you seriously. And when you understand that, you stop wasting words, you stop chasing validation, and you start commanding the respect that noise can never buy. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. The next time you're tempted to argue, just to be heard, hold back. Let silence do the work. Because silence, when mastered, speaks louder than anything you could ever say. And in that silence, you'll find that respect is no longer something you have to demand. It's something people can't help but give you. Silence is not empty. It has a way of pulling truth to the surface in ways that words often cannot. When you stop speaking, when you stop rushing to fill the space, something powerful begins to happen. You start to see and hear what was always there but drowned out by noise. People reveal themselves in silence. Their tone, their body language, their choice of words, the things they don't say, all of it comes into focus when you create space with silence. This is why silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use to uncover the truth. Most people aren't comfortable with silence. In a conversation, when a pause lingers too long, they feel an almost uncontrollable urge to fill it. They start talking just to break the tension. And in that rush to speak, they often reveal more than they intended. They confess things, they share hidden feelings, they expose motives they were trying to conceal. That's why silence is such a powerful revealer. If you can master your own discomfort with it, you'll find that others can't. They will always break first, and when they do, the truth comes out. Think of an interrogation room. The most effective interrogators don't talk endlessly, hammering someone with questions. They ask one question, and then they wait. They let the silence stretch. That silence becomes pressure. The person being questioned begins to fidget, to explain, to backtrack, to reveal cracks in their story. The silence forces them to deal with their own conscience. It's not the loudness that breaks them, it's the quiet. The same principle works in everyday life. You don't have to demand the truth. You don't have to corner someone with accusations. Sometimes all you have to do is stay silent long enough, and they will reveal it themselves. But silence doesn't only reveal the truth about others, it also reveals the truth about you. In silence, you hear your own thoughts more clearly. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, it's easy to get lost in the chaos. You're influenced by opinions, distracted by chatter, pulled in 100 different directions. But when you choose silence, when you sit with yourself without distraction, the truth of what you feel and what you need begins to surface. Silence allows you to confront yourself, the parts of you you've ignored, the feelings you've buried, the answers you've been avoiding. It's not always comfortable. In fact, silence can be painful because it forces you to face truths you've been running from. Maybe it's the truth about a relationship that no longer serves you. Maybe it's the truth about habits you need to break. Maybe it's the truth about who you really are versus who you've been pretending to be. Silence doesn't lie to you. It holds up a mirror and it waits for you to look. That's why so many people avoid it. They drown themselves in noise so they don't have to face what silence would reveal. But if you can embrace it, silence becomes a source of clarity and honesty that nothing else can give you. There's also a spiritual quality to silence. Many great thinkers, leaders, and creators have spoken about how silence brought them insight. They retreated into quiet, not to escape the world, but to see it more clearly. In silence, ideas rise. In silence, intuition strengthens. In silence, you hear the voice of wisdom that gets lost in the rush of everyday life. It's no coincidence that breakthroughs often come when you're alone, quiet and still. That's the truth speaking to you through silence. In your interactions with others, silence can uncover the truth of their character. Watch how people react to your silence. Some become nervous and overshare. Some grow defensive, accusing you of things just to fill the gap. Others grow uncomfortable because they rely on dominating conversations. Your silence exposes their insecurities, their intentions, their values. If someone can't sit with your silence, it often means they're not comfortable with themselves. On the other hand, when someone can meet your silence with calm, when they don't need to fill the air with empty noise, it often means they carry truth within them too. Another way silence reveals truth is by exposing what doesn't need words. Love, respect, loyalty, and even betrayal, they all show themselves in silence. Think of a moment when someone didn't defend you, didn't speak up for you, didn't show up when it mattered. Their silence told you the truth, louder than words ever could. And think of a time when someone sat with you in silence during your pain, offering no advice, no distraction, just presence. That silence also revealed the truth, that they cared, that they were with you. Silence communicates truths. Words are often too weak to express. There's an old saying, if you stay quiet long enough, people will tell you everything you need to know. And it's true. People can hide behind words, but they cannot hide from silence. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects their inner state. If someone is lying, silence makes the lie harder to carry. If someone is honest, silence doesn't scare them. If someone is manipulative, silence frustrates them because it denies them control. Silence strips away masks and forces authenticity. And when it comes to yourself, silence can be the ultimate teacher. In silence, you discover your resilience. You learn that you don't need constant validation, constant conversation, constant approval to feel secure. You realize that peace doesn't come from others. It comes from your ability to sit with yourself in quiet confidence. The truth of who you are, the truth of what you're capable of, the truth of what you want, all of it lives in silence. The power of silence lies in its ability to strip away illusions. Words can deceive, noise can distract, but silence reveals. It reveals who others are, it reveals who you are, it reveals what matters and what doesn't. If you can learn to trust silence, to sit in it, to use it wisely, you'll find that truth will always come to you. You don't have to chase it, you don't have to force it. Silence will uncover it, piece by piece, moment by moment. So the next time you're tempted to fill the air, the next time you feel pressure to speak, just because the silence feels heavy, hold back. Let the silence breathe. Let it do its work. Because silence never lies. It will always tell you the truth, whether you're ready to hear it or not. There is a peace that comes with silence that no amount of arguing, explaining, or defending can ever give you. In a world that constantly demands your reaction, silence becomes your shield. When people insult you, when situations provoke you, when chaos swirls around you, your ability to stay silent is not about weakness. It is about protecting your inner world. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control how much of your energy you give away. And every time you respond to nonsense, every time you engage in pointless battles, you allow someone else to disturb your peace. Silence is how you say, I value myself too much to let you drag me into your storm. Most people believe peace is something that comes when everything outside is calm. They think they'll feel peaceful when others finally respect them, when circumstances align, when the world quiets down. But real peace is not found in the external world, it's built inside of you. And silence is the tool that helps you protect it. Because when you stay silent in the face of negativity, you are refusing to allow someone else to control your emotional state. You're choosing to guard your mind, your heart, your focus. That is how you keep peace intact. There's a simple truth. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every comment deserves your answer. Not every insult deserves your voice. Some people thrive on conflict. They want to see you react. They want to pull you into arguments that lead nowhere. They want to drain you of your energy because it entertains them or validates them. But when you choose silence, you deny them that satisfaction. You take away the fuel they crave. You leave them with nothing to feed on. And in doing so, you keep your peace untouched. Think about the last time you let someone's words get under your skin. You probably replayed it in your mind, came up with responses you wished you'd said, carried it with you long after the moment had passed. That's how conflict steals your peace, not only in the moment, but in the hours and days that follow. But imagine if you had chosen silence instead. The words would still have been spoken, but they would have had nowhere to land. They would have fallen flat, unable to invade your mind or your spirit. Silence builds a wall around your peace, and only you hold the key to let anything in. Silence also protects your peace by giving you space to think before you act. In the middle of conflict, emotions can rise like fire, anger, hurt, pride, fear. In those moments, reacting instantly often leads to regret. You say things you don't mean. You escalate situations unnecessarily. You give away your calm. But silence gives you that pause, that moment of breathing room, where you can step back and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this worth my time? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Silence creates the distance you need to make wiser choices. Protecting your peace with silence doesn't mean you let people disrespect you. It doesn't mean you allow injustice to continue. It means you are selective. You choose when to engage. And when engagement only costs more than it gives, it's about valuing your mental and emotional energy so highly that you don't waste it on things that don't matter. Your silence becomes a statement. My peace is more important than proving myself to you. And that statement is louder than any argument you could ever make. There's also a powerful psychological effect when you respond to negativity with silence. The person trying to provoke you expects a fight. They expect resistance. When you don't give it, when you remain calm and silent, it frustrates them. It takes away their control. They realize they cannot disturb your peace, no matter how hard they try. That is real power. Peace is not passive, it is strength. And silence is the way you protect it. Silence also allows you to redirect your energy. Instead of wasting hours locked in conflict, you can use that time to build yourself, to focus on what matters, to move forward. Peace is not just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of focus, clarity, and calm. When you choose silence over reaction, you are telling yourself that your growth, your goals, your happiness are more important than temporary battles. That mindset changes everything. In personal relationships, silence can protect your peace in ways words cannot. Sometimes saying nothing is better than saying something that will only deepen wounds. Sometimes stepping away in silence is the healthiest choice for both people involved. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to not let anger destroy it. In professional settings, silence can save your reputation. Instead of engaging in office gossip or unnecessary drama, silence keeps you above it. You're not dragged into messes that can cost you respect. On a deeper level, silence protects your peace because it teaches you that you don't need to win every battle. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need everyone to agree with you, to understand you, to validate you. Peace is not found in their approval. Peace is found in your ability to sit quietly with yourself and know that you're okay regardless of what others think. When you master that, you become untouchable. There will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be situations that try to pull you into negativity. You can't control that, but you can control how you respond. And silence is your choice to rise above, to refuse to let chaos live rent-free in your heart. Silence says you can throw stones at me, but I won't throw them back. I'm building something too important to be distracted. Protecting your peace requires strength. It requires you to value yourself enough to not engage with everything that demands your attention. It requires courage to walk away, to stay quiet, to preserve your calm when everything around you tempts you to lose it. But the reward is priceless, because when you protect your peace with silence, you are free. Free from constant conflict, free from unnecessary stress, free from the exhaustion of trying to fight battles that don't matter. So, the next time you feel provoked, remember this: your peace is worth more than your pride. Your silence is worth more than proving your point. And when you choose silence, you choose yourself. That choice will always be the one that keeps your life calm, focused, and powerful. Silence has a way of reshaping you from the inside out. At first glance, people think silence is about restraint, holding back words, controlling your tongue, choosing not to engage. But silence is more than that. When practiced with intention, silence transforms you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you were before. It becomes a training ground for discipline, clarity, and inner resilience. While others waste their energy trying to be louder than everyone else, silence teaches you that real strength doesn't need to shout. Real strength can sit quietly, observe, and act with precision. One of the greatest strengths silence builds is self-control. In life, there will always be situations that provoke you. Arguments, insults, misunderstandings. The easy thing is to react instantly, to defend yourself, to snap back. But the stronger thing is to pause, to hold back, to let silence give you a moment to think. That pause is where your strength grows. In that silence, you choose not to be controlled by emotion, but by wisdom. You decide whether speaking is worth your energy or whether silence will serve you better. Every time you choose silence over an impulsive reaction, you are strengthening your ability to master yourself. Silence also teaches patience. We live in a world where everyone wants instant gratification, instant answers, instant results. But silence slows you down. It teaches you to wait, to observe, to let things unfold without forcing them. And patience is one of the greatest signs of strength, because only the strong can resist the urge to rush. Only the strong can trust that silence will reveal what words cannot. This patience makes you resilient. It means you are no longer shaken by every challenge, no longer thrown off by every storm. You've built an inner calm that cannot be easily disturbed. There is also a mental strength that comes from silence. When you are constantly speaking, constantly surrounded by noise, your mind becomes cluttered. You can't hear your own thoughts clearly. But when you step into silence, your mind begins to settle. You gain clarity. You see situations more objectively. You find solutions that noise would have hidden from you. That mental clarity is strength. It allows you to make smarter decisions, to act strategically rather than emotionally. The strongest people are not those who talk the most, but those who think clearly and act with precision. Silence creates that clarity. On a deeper level, silence builds emotional strength. When you can sit with silence, you learn to sit with yourself. And that is not always easy. Silence brings up emotions you've buried, fears you've avoided, truths you've been running from, but facing those emotions, instead of drowning them out with noise, makes you stronger. You begin to accept yourself fully, the good, the bad, and everything in between. That acceptance builds confidence, because when you are comfortable with your own silence, you no longer fear being alone. You no longer need constant validation or distraction. You've built emotional strength that makes you unshakable. Silence can also transform you into someone who carries authority. Have you noticed that people who don't talk constantly often carry more presence when they do speak? That's because their silence has already commanded attention. Their words are not wasted, so when they finally choose to use them, people listen. That ability to have your voice respected not because you shout, but because you're selective, is a form of strength. It makes you someone others look up to, someone others take seriously. Another way silence transforms you is through reflection. In silence, you have the space to look back at your choices, your actions, your mistakes, and your victories. Reflection gives you the wisdom to learn and grow. It allows you to correct your path without the noise of outside opinions. And every time you reflect, you become stronger because you're learning from experience instead of repeating the same mistakes. Silence becomes your teacher, and strength becomes your reward. Even in relationships, silence can be transformative. When emotions run high, when arguments escalate, silence allows you to step back and stop the cycle of conflict. It keeps you from saying things that would cause deeper damage. It gives both you and the other person space to breathe, to cool down, to approach the situation with calm instead of fire. That ability to de-escalate, to not let anger control you, is strength. And over time, it transforms you into someone who is not easily provoked, not easily thrown off balance. In a world where noise is constant, social media, conversations, endless opinions, choosing silence also transforms you into someone rare. Most people can't stand silence. They fill it with chatter, with distractions, with meaningless noise. But when you embrace silence, you separate yourself. You become the person who doesn't need to compete for attention, who doesn't crave validation, who doesn't depend on external noise to feel important. That difference makes you stronger because it makes you independent. You no longer need the world's approval to feel secure. Your silence becomes your foundation. There's also strength in the way silence helps you endure. Life is full of moments where words won't change anything. Loss, grief, deep pain. In those times, silence becomes the only language that makes sense. When you learn to sit in that silence, when you learn to endure it instead of escaping it, you discover an inner strength you didn't know you had. That strength carries you through storms and makes you resilient in ways that words never could. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary conflict, you strengthen your peace. Every time you choose silence over impulsive words, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you choose silence to reflect, you strengthen your wisdom. And every time you choose silence to sit with your own emotions, you strengthen your soul. The transformation is not immediate. At first, silence feels uncomfortable. It feels heavy, awkward, even painful. But as you practice it, as you learn to master it, silence becomes your greatest ally. It sharpens you, it calms you, it strengthens you in ways the world cannot see, but in ways that everyone can feel when you walk into a room. That's what makes silence transformative. It doesn't just change how you speak, it changes who you are. So understand this. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strength in disguise. The more you embrace it, the stronger you become. And when the world tries to shake you, provoke you, or distract you, your silence will be the unshakable force that keeps you grounded, calm, and powerful. There is a quiet strength that lives in all of us, but most never learn how to use it. We are taught to speak louder, to fight harder, to prove ourselves with words. Yet the truth is, the greatest power you will ever hold is not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. Silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is wisdom. It is control. Silence protects your power, commands respect, reveals truth, guards your peace, and transforms you into someone unshakable. When you master silence, you stop being a slave to your emotions. You stop being controlled by the noise of the world. You no longer give your energy to people who don't deserve it. Instead, you conserve it, you direct it, and you use it when it matters most. That is strength. That is freedom. The loudest person in the room may grab attention for a moment, but the person who can sit calmly in silence will always hold authority. The one who doesn't react to every insult, who doesn't chase every argument, who doesn't reveal everything they feel, that person will always be respected, always be in control. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is strategy. It is power. So the next time life tries to provoke you, the next time someone tries to steal your peace, the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself to people who will never understand, remember this: silence is not your enemy. Silence is your weapon. Use it, protect it, master it. Because when you do, you will discover that the most powerful voice you have is the one that doesn't need to be heard in order to be felt.